Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Oh, that was so loud. I hope I didn't break your eardrums there. Hey guys, it's Monday. Very important week. Kind of an interesting, unusual setup that we got here because we have a Federal Reserve meeting and we also have the end of the month. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff kind of going on right now, including political instability, etc. to look at. So let's go take a look at the charts, check the news a little bit, make sure that the world didn't end while I was in the shower. Because we got some crazy stuff going on. Okay, so first to the charts. I can figure out which one it is. There we go. Okay, so here we got the treasuries. So on Friday, they sold a little bit after the PCE news, which I'm still not sure I understand. But look, we come right back up there. So we've spent the whole week just range bound. Maybe they're just toying with us on the news. I don't know, because I really don't understand any of these moves in the past week. This is kind of unusual situation for me. Feel that lost, but you know, it was bound to happen sooner or later, right? Here's the S&P 500, also kind of going sideways. So maybe, yeah, I don't know. Maybe they really are waiting for the Fed meeting. Oil is spiking up here, and of course we had 3 U.S. soldiers die in Jordan, killed by Iranian-backed extremists, I believe is what we're calling them. I forget, but yeah, that's going on. That's creating political instability. Gold and silver on the way up, as well as a flight to safety haven, but only gently. So that might be a little too early to call it that. Yeah. And we got copper. Copper did pretty good last week, but is kind of trailing off. So we'll see if they really pull it out over there in China with their stimulus. Oh, and overnight, Evergrande, is that their name? Ordered to shut down. So that whole saga comes to a close finally. Which means to me that it's probably not over in China, but we'll see. And we got the Japanese yen and the dollar here. Japanese yen also kind of going sideways, and the dollar just able to stay above 103. So, oh, you know what? We also have to check the Bitcoins. Well, the Bitcoins did finally get a little jump back up. It looks like the selling from some of these ETFs is kind of slowing, and I still think that in the long run you probably buy it. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm not going to touch it. I just don't like Bitcoin overall. So, all right. Good morning, GWE Tactical, Dom, Octavius, LGX2. Wait, was that? You've been here before, LGX2. That name looks familiar, but you're not in the usual group. So you are amongst many great people here, guys that are here every day, right at the very beginning. This is a week we want to try and stay engaged, huh? You're an occasional visitor. That's what I thought. Occasional visitor, maybe not super chatty, but that's probably a good thing. That means you're probably trading, right? All right, so today we don't really have a whole lot in terms of news, but we do have some bill auctions. We got a 6-month and 3-month bills later today, so we got that. Shall we pull the calendar up here? I'm pretty sure we don't have a whole lot of big news until you get the federal funds rate, right? Well, you do get Chicago PMI on Wednesday. Oh, and we get JOLTS on January. Oh, okay, so they are going to have the Friday non-farms. Well, isn't that interesting? Have you ever seen JOLTS released before the end of the month. I'm not sure I've ever seen that happen before. So we'll have jolts on. So we're getting all of the regular jobs releases. I mean, that's going to be very interesting because, you know, those numbers are supposed to be getting a little bit weaker, right? So, well, let's just browse around here a little bit, see if there's anything new. Nassim Taleb complaining about people that are pro-Gaza and not talking about it. I have many pro-Israel and Jewish friends, and I have no problem with their position / bias, but I extricate those intellectual. That's an interesting kind of take from him. He seems to be very interested in this particular issue, though. The Israel issue. Mohammed A. El Arian, the Wall Street Journal, on two major U.S. inflation measures. Labor's Consumer Price Index, or CPI, typically runs a bit higher than the Commerce's Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index, but the current gap is at the high end of the range over the past 25 years. Over the past 25 years, the average annual change in CPI has been about 0.4% point higher than PCE. One reason is that housing accounts for around 40% of the CPI basket, but typically just about 20% of the PCE index. Very interesting. Took a small long there. Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm kind of sitting here thinking about this, like, should we be seeing flows today? Well, usually on the Monday before Federal Reserve meeting, it tends to be pretty quiet. I could see there is a little bit of pressure on the long side. I'm not seeing anything too significant in the flows themselves, though. So Octavius usually gets pretty good ones, though. Yeah, so it's worth me pausing there for a second and second guessing myself, I guess. Oh, okay. Here's an interesting post by, hey, Amir. Yep, you have a good week. It's going to be, I tell you what, it's going to be a busy week. It really is. People think about things dynamic. A tiny difference in growth compounds. This means that one needs a miracle for China, India, and South Asia to not run the world economy, and accordingly, geopolitics in 1 to 2 decades. Over my adult lifetime, I saw China's GDP experience a 30-fold multiplication, while the US 3x, Europe so-so, etc. Past 15 years, US, China, India, Europe. Except for that, China's really experiencing some significant issues. They're not going to have the same growth that they did. Probably. Really? You didn't have like wanting to take that many trades in this? Okay. You're really doing something way more high. I don't know what it is that you're doing, but it's way high frequency. It's every time you're talking about something, I'm like, I feel like he takes too many trades. Innovations in deep pricing techniques, generative AI, and market shocks. Yusuf, hello. Oh man, I am not even. How do you say that? Ilaur Kawawi from Citi joined us to summarize his presentation at Quant Minds International. Talks about generative AI's impact on deep pricing and quant finance. Worth reading. One of the things is that a lot of the materials that I have read about like deep learning models and these kind of like ChatGPT style models is that they aren't really very useful for finance and trading, generally speaking. But then all of a sudden, Jane Street started buying up all of the video cards. So apparently there's something. And here, this article is maybe suggesting how they might be, using it. I think. No, not anything too interesting. What do you guys think about Taylor Swift's boyfriend making it to the Super Bowl? You know, I am convinced now at this point, pretty convinced that the NFL is staged. Like at first it was basketball, right? And I'm like, it's staged. It's not staged, but like the refs certainly have teams that they want to win or not want to win, and the NBA maybe tells the refs like, hey, you know, help this guy out or whatever. Like, we know that kind of happens to some extent now at this point, right? And I'm just thinking maybe the NFL is like that, because how is it this perfect that as soon as those two get together and then all of a sudden he's in the Super Bowl? Like, what? There's got to be this like, hey, listen, like, we're getting a lot of viewers from Taylor, so you've got to get him to the Super Bowl. It's got to be. Everything you need to know about him isn't condensed in your question, Taylor Swift's boyfriend. Yeah, I know that it seems like I'm trolling you by calling him Taylor Swift's boyfriend, but the honest truth is I just can't remember his name right now. Channing Tatum or something like that. I can't remember his name. Travis. And I can't remember his last name, even if you give me Travis. Anyways, so there was a thread about this where people, oh yes, Travis Kelce. It's Kelce. Kelce is the, yes. So people were talking about Kelce's win and the Chiefs last night, and I was like, I don't know, this whole thing has me convinced that the NFL is rigged. And somebody was like, listen, if the NFL was rigged, there are so many people involved in NFL, all of the players and all this, like, how do you fake, like, you know, tearing an ACL and that sort of a thing? And I'm just sitting over here like, that's what they told me about aliens, and now there's people in Congress talking about aliens and ships that are like, you know, only 100 feet wide, and when you go into it, it's the size of a football field, and all of this kind of crazy stuff. So like, I'm that argument doesn't really convince me. You know, you're an American football fan. So there was a time, there really was a time where I was trying to be an American football fan, and I just couldn't stay involved. And it's not like I do find football interesting. I don't know if there's enough, you know, I'm not going to sit there for hours and hours and hours and hours and everything, but I found it too difficult to watch the games. This is one of the things that is, they're saying that like the younger kids, they're not as interested in pro sports. They don't watch basketball. They don't watch football. Well, yeah, because number one, you've split the rights up between different channels and stuff so much that nobody can watch the games. And then number two is like you politicized it. So the people that would be like the most likely to stay interested in pro sports just completely left. Like, so I thought that was going to be like that, you know, the thing we can talk about around the water cooler sort of a thing, football, and then yeah, just lost interest. That was around the time when it was all about Kaepernick and all that stuff, right? It's kind of funny that he was able to dominate the conversation at the time so much, because he wasn't very good, and nobody wants to pick him up. And anyways, so then I thought, hey, maybe we can do F1. I'd be totally down to do F1, but I don't want to wake up at 6 o'clock on Sunday morning. Like, I get to sleep in one day. I only get to sleep in by an hour because we have early morning church now. So you hear us Mormons, you know, there's usually like 3 different congregations to a chapel. Congregation is based on where you live. And they, at the beginning of the year, they switch times. So this year we got 9 a.m. church. So I don't really get to sleep in. I have a problem with it too, though. Not the game itself, but the fact that it is cut by commercials too much. It became a show more than a game. The problem is solved in Europe much better. Well, yeah. There are a lot of things that F1 are doing that are really cool. Like, did you see all this stuff with like the VR app? So you like sitting in this little VR thing, and then you can see little dots on the map where all the cars are, and you can like pop up cameras anywhere that you want and all of this sort of stuff so you can monitor the race. So cool. So cool. Seems like over here with American sports, they're not picking it up. Now, there is one thing, though. There is one thing. There is discussion. Actually, let me see where this is at. There's discussion about having a professional hockey team in Salt Lake City. Let's see. From the Deseret News, could Salt Lake score big with an NHL hockey team? Utah Jazz owner Ryan Smith is looking to bring an expansion team to the state. On Wednesday, Smith Entertainment Group formally requested the NHL to initiate the expansion process to bring a franchise to Utah. Ryan Smith, owner of the Utah Jazz, said SEG would accommodate a team at the Delta Center configured to seat around 14,000 for hockey as early as next year, with designs on building an arena dedicated to hockey in the future. Yeah, setting the Delta Center up for hockey is not the best, but, you know, I would take what we can get. The Delta Center has hosted NHL preseason games the past 2 years. Okay, straight up, if they get a hockey team, I'll buy season tickets. Straight up. Not that, you know what, I like Olympic hockey better than NHL, but I'll learn that game. I'll learn the NHL, and the players and all that. We should have hockey. It's in my blood. It's in the blood. Actually, it's not. My mom is Canadian, but her dad came over from the UK, and her mom came over from the Netherlands. So, I mean, both of her parents are immigrants to Canada. So is it really in the blood? Yeah. I like hockey. I will do my part to support a hockey team if they make a pro hockey team in Salt Lake City. Yes, sir. And then you guys will have to listen to me talk about it. So then it will be the water cooler thing. Pretty sure. I wonder why he's so interested in doing that. I don't know. I think that he wants to make so there's this area in Utah. You want to hear about some weird local Utah politics. Yeah, I need to change the layers. It needs to be satellite. Here's a map. Here's a map of Salt Lake City, okay? I live up over here in Centerville. Okay, but this is like Salt Lake City proper. And then there's this little area right here called Point of the Mountain. Point of the Mountain. Okay. like intel and everything is along this bench right here. And then way down here is where BYU is, okay? So like this area down here, this is like Happy Valley, and this is Salt Lake City proper, okay? Right here, you notice how it's kind of like not very developed. So when you come over here, and it's like there's like super nice stuff, right? Really dense shopping and everything, right? And right here, there's nothing. Why is that? Well, because that is where the Utah prison is. Where's Kenny's house? This is where the prison is. Well, they are going to move the prison. They've decided that land is too valuable. I agree with them, but a lot of people were upset about this. Okay, a lot of people were upset about this. They're gonna move the prison like somewhere over here, like west of the airport. It's like somewhere over in this area, right? So now this place is up for grabs, and they're saying that Ryan, he wants to, convince the city down there or whatever to build him a sports complex so that he could have like a basketball stadium and a football stadium and a baseball stadium and a hockey stadium like all next to each other or something. That's what they're talking about. Are we looking for those conspiracies where you find an alien? Dude, have you ever heard of finding Finn's gold? Oh my gosh. This thing is just absolutely crazy. So like this guy, he buried some gold somewhere out in the west. Somewhere in like Utah, Arizona, Colorado area, right? And he put like very expensive coins in this chest and like buried it somewhere or something like that. And then he made this really elaborate poem that he said like, look at a map because some of the hints are based on a map and stuff like that. And then he would even give like hints. So it was like this multi-million-dollar treasure hunt. And it went on for years. I mean, years and years and years. And people would always go have trips, say, I think it's here, go on a trip, look for it, didn't find it. Like it was a whole thing, right? And then somebody found it. Somebody found it. They confirmed that they did it and everything else like that. But they wouldn't say where they found it. Because apparently it wasn't actually public land or like they weren't, something about the law. Something about the law was like it was on private property or something. Who knows? We don't really know for sure. But something about the property was they didn't want to say where it was because maybe they wouldn't get to keep the treasure. So we never know what the answer was. Believe that? Oh, I want to know. There was a lot of people that like invested a lot in time and money into trying to find it. So to not know what the answer was is like just, ugh, it's got to kill them, you know? Well, the Treasury kind of settled back there, and it is definitely giving me those we don't want to go anywhere vibes. But you know what? If I get a good move here, I'll try fading it on the sim. Like this would be a good time for us to practice our mean reversion skills. We really think that it's going to be tight. Say that there's a lot more risk in this than usual. Largest ever NATO exercise to rehearse Russian attack on Europe. I'm looking for more information about, you know, like this Iran thing. iRobot crashes to 2009 lows after regulators force termination of Amazon acquisition. Huh. White House says significant military response coming as Iran denies involvement with U.S. troop deaths. You think that they're going to do it like during our trading session? Like, if you want to create the most media buzz about it, then I think that you do it here during our session, or like after the stocks open. Right? But do you actually want to make as big of a splash as possible about it? I don't know. I don't think that the American public will be too happy about it, to be honest with you. Not that they're happy about anything these days. Yeah, most of the stuff that I'm seeing here on Zero Hedge is just politics. So there's the tax cuts are ending, and I could shut the border if you just passed this bill. And okay. It's shocking how many people downplay the Great Recession of the late 2000s and early 2010s. It really does. People all forgot about the 2001 thing. Oh, we were too young. I remember. I paid attention to that stuff in high school. I think we should get comfortable, man. I'm looking at this like, okay, you know, maybe if they come back down, I might want to buy it. I don't know. I could sell it too, but I think I'd rather do the buy. So the trend does look to be up for the session at least. But then they're trading a lot at 14.5. So it looks like really, really pretty good liquidity and very low volatility, and probably will be very stuck here. Microsoft is getting rid of WordPad after 28 years? Heresy. Nobody uses WordPad, actually. If they were getting rid of Notepad, then I would be like flipping out. You know what Microsoft should do? They should make a modal version of Notepad, but with key bindings that are based on like around the home row keys and not necessarily based around like the letters trying to sound like the operation that you're trying to do. And yeah, that would be huge. Should do it, Microsoft. They're not going to do it. You seen protesters banner in Slovakia against Fico? No, I've not heard anything about it. Oh, well, I live in the United States, of course I'm not. Not even on Reddit, though. Political pressure builds on Biden to strike Iran after U.S. deaths. Okay, let's read what Reddit thinks about this headline. Without even reading the article. We're not even going to read the article. What does Reddit think? Height fence to walk there. Hubs will be like, yeah, still voting for the other guy as he would have done it better, and some of Biden's base are going to be against warmongering. Sure, it is a bit more complicated than that, but that is just, no, I don't agree with that. You are still living, I bet you this guy is like in his late 30s. You're still acting like it is the year 2005. And the neocon Republicans are in charge, and Republicans are down with any kind of military action that George Bush wants to do, and no, it's not like that anymore. Republicans, I think, are more anti-war than the left right now, to be frank. Someone on Discord. Oh yeah. Well, has there been more comments about that? Well, okay. Let's answer him. You mentioned technical analysis is effectively garbage. So. YouTube algorithm is doing what is supposed to be doing, trading. It did go back up. You can give it a chance here. See if they can bust that 16. It is a nuanced thing. Like, so the interesting thing that shift that has happened to me. Remember what we say is like everything is hypothesis or theories, and we're just finding evidence that supports or contradicts those theories. And some theories you have a really wide amount of evidence, but there's always a possibility that something comes along and changes your view of it. It doesn't necessarily mean that the stuff that you knew before was wrong. Is just that you get an even more refined and nuanced view of it. And that's what's happening here, is that I'm realizing that almost all of the stuff that you've read out there about successful retail traders or successful traders using technical analysis to make money was actually talking about momentum traders who were trading a wide variety of like a portfolio of futures instruments. So like it didn't, none of it ever supported this stuff of I'm just going to read a 1 minute chart and I'm going to predict where it's going based off of that, right? Like retail traders just made that up. That's not what the Jack Swagger books and all of that stuff was about. It was mostly about momentum CTA traders who were trading things on daily, weekly time frames, holding things for months potentially, and trading managing a portfolio of assets with multiple positions, and not just trying to predict one instrument every day, right? So when we come in and what we're doing, very specifically trying to trade one instrument and predict where it's going to go over the next 5 minutes, you've got to use a completely different set of strategies. And reading patterns on a chart isn't very effective at doing that. Now, a lot of people believe in this price action stuff, but I've done a lot of research on it, and none of these pattern setups that they talk about have any efficacy at all. As far as I can tell, the only reason why people believe in the whole price action thing is because the people promoting these strategies also tend to promote using a low R factor, which means that their losses are much larger than their winners. And so it seems like they win all the time. And most people aren't sophisticated enough to do the stats and the data to realize that on a risk-adjusted basis, it just doesn't work. Right? And that is, price action is really like a more classical approach to technical analysis, but just intraday. This is really all it is. So yeah, technical analysis is trash, but momentum is a thing, right? Technical analysis is trash. It should probably be a more nuanced statement like that. Analyzing a single stock on an intraday time frame to look for certain patterns and predict which way it's going to go is pointless. It's not effective. We've tested it. It's not effective. Maybe someday in the future, somebody will find us a setup that is very highly effective. But based on our knowledge of the market, any kind of quote pattern that would exist like that is unlikely to stick around. Momentum effects, because those are things that are going on over months, it's a different story, right? Much harder to wash those away. Although there is some evidence too that momentum strategies aren't doing as well as they used to. Yeah, can you define what a momentum strategy is? So I'll give you an example of a momentum strategy. Oh, I had a rollover that I never did. Let me take care of that. Okay. So if I come back over here to ZN. So a ZN is a really good instrument to look at momentum strategies on, simply because treasuries have a really strong tendency to trend. Okay. And also part of what they do is they let their unused margin sit in treasuries. So like I have $10 million, I buy $10 million in treasuries, and then I use those treasuries as collateral for my trades. And that way that collateral isn't just sitting there. It's constantly making a yield too. Right. Okay. But anyways, so that's part of the strategy. And because, before yields started going up, treasuries were buying up. And so those people holding those treasuries, they made a lot of money from that too. Okay. So the treasuries is a very important part of a momentum strategy. And you can do something like, let's zoom in on this time period right here. Right. So we were in a range for quite some time, right? And what you can do is you can have a very, very simple strategy. You can say, if the close of the day is the low of the last 90 days or something like that. Okay, so let's say that basically it's a 90-day breakout, right? How would you... let me draw a little bit more clear of a chart. Is if we have a chart and it's in a range like this, and then it goes like this. How do you detect that it has broken out of the channel? Because this bar is the high of the last X bars. Okay. So if we're having a breakout, and we can look at a moving average, and we can say the 50-day moving average is below the 200-day moving average. So right here, it's not. Right here, it's not. So I guess that wouldn't necessarily trigger one. So let's come over a little bit. Okay, but then right here, they're crossing, and then they are, right? So maybe after this big down candle, we can justify getting in, and we can go short. So it will go short, and it will stay short until, some other condition is met. Okay. You detect it with the close of a 5-minute candle chart. Well, yeah. So it is in some respects your traditional technical analysis. You're saying the market will change between range-bound periods and trending periods, and I'm going to detect when a trend starts and hope that the trend continues. Okay. Now, if you do this on a single instrument, if you go on the S&P 500 futures and you test this, it's not going to be a winning proposition for you necessarily, because it could be range bound for a really, really long time, right? Or especially if you go to certain commodities, okay? These commodities can be range bound, stuck in a range for years. And so that's not a profitable strategy. But when you have a portfolio of them, when you have like 200 different commodity markets that you're looking at, and you trade them when they start to see momentum, and you make so much more from when those trades actually work out and you do get momentum compared to what you risk when it just goes back into the range, that is a profitable strategy. And it's not just a profitable strategy, it's a very profitable strategy. Now, so you can see how it's like, well, yes, that is kind of like what we think of as technical analysis, isn't it? But there's some key components missing there to most retail trading to pull off a momentum strategy, right? You have to have multiple instruments, and the construction of the universe of assets that you're going to trade is like a really important part of how successful you are with it. And you're holding positions for months. So it's not day trading, is it? So I guess maybe a more simple way that I could say this is that technical analysis is not very useful for day trading. Yeah. Now, if I'm looking at these daily charts, so this is where it's like, I would encourage you to have a daily chart like this. Have a daily chart and put like the 50, 100, and 200 day moving averages, because those are the triggers for a lot of automated strategies, or what do we say, mechanical strategies, right? I also have an ATR stop on here. So what this says is like, what is the average true range of the bars? And then times that by 3. And then if we're like more than 3 back from like the previous high or low, that is like a significant pullback. So that is a place where they often start to go for mean reversion. Like, see here, if we're on a downtrend, it comes back to that line, goes lower. And then here you can see the same thing. Comes back to that line, but then it starts getting choppy. Right? So put those on there, and then you can say like, oh, like we could have, if we were paying more attention to this in December, we could have said, oh yeah, all of these things say up. So probably CTO momentum strategies are getting involved here, and so I would very much prefer to go long, and I can kind of incorporate that into my day strategy, but then I'm still going to be looking for something that's like, what's actually going to move it in the next 5 minutes, right? So it can kind of be useful to you on day trading, but not the way that day traders talk about it, right? Why use technical analysis on timeframes that are considered investing timeframes, not trading timeframes? Fundamental analysis yields much better results on those timeframes. Well, okay, so if I was looking at a stock, if I was looking at an individual stock, and I was deciding to buy or sell it, then you're right. Trying to use technical analysis on that is probably pretty useless. An individual chart, basically the edge that you have in predicting that there's a breakout and this stock has momentum and that the momentum will continue, the edge that you have on doing that on individual instruments is basically nil, basically random. Okay. But when you do it over a portfolio, and it's a portfolio of futures, commodities, then there's an edge to that. Right? Now, when you're getting into quant stuff, is that you can come in and you can incorporate all of this other information about it. Like you can incorporate things about the fundamentals of that company, like what its recent earnings were and its PE ratio and analyst projections and all of those sorts of things. And then maybe you can combine those things together and find an edge to predict an individual stock, perhaps. Get what I mean? But I think that the key thing to see here is that, like I said, so Jack Swagger wrote a lot of books about this, that people that are into technical analysis, they just love that stuff. But it seems like they never realize that this guy is all talking about managing a portfolio and trading daily timeframes, right? So there's all of these assumptions that they have, and they're just reading into it stuff that's not actually there, right? Because you're in such a completely different world. Now, you guys all have all of the context so that you can kind of discern when these things are going to be useful and when they're not, right? Well, if somebody is just trading the S&P and they're trying to trade it based off of a bunch of moving averages and all of that sort of nonsense, probably not going to have too much success with it. It's all very complicated. But it also all kind of fits into what we know, right? The market is very statistically efficient, but not very informationally efficient. And so that's where you can get into this on short time frames. It's all just a wash and it's noise. But then on long time frames, you can get these massive trends that like you should know are going to continue. But, so if they were going to continue and the market was efficient, why wouldn't it just go like right to where that end price is supposed to be? But actually, the reality is that the market's not efficient, and it takes weeks and weeks and weeks for it to get there. So basically, price analyzed in the short term tends to be random. I'd say so. I'd say my opinion is still that unless you are A, really fast, or B, informed, you know something that most of the participants don't know. Unless you have one of those two things, you're not likely to have any success on short time frames. Yeah, we have end of month flows this week, end FOMC, yes, and jobs data. So it usually doesn't come out that way. But it does this time around. So this is a major week. Well, let's see here. The treasury is kind of coming back down here now. So I'll try taking a shot. Actually, I might do it with 3 here. I think this kind of situation is like the worst for a trade, but I'm going to try it here with the sim account and see if I can get it to work. Because we're in a situation where the market has been very tight and is likely to remain tight, but there is stuff going on this week, so it's entirely possible that they do break out. And there's a good chance that there's some sort of a breakout first that stops me out and then it comes back. Check out the dollar. Oh yeah, dollar's up like 6 cents here. That's not huge, but it might be enough for me to not want to take that trade. You know, why do you think that looking at longer time frames eliminates the randomness of outcomes? I'm not sure that it is the higher time frames. Because here's the thing, if it was the higher time frames, then I could just watch ZN with a couple of moving averages and technical setups, and I could still do okay just only trading one instrument, but just trading it on a daily time frame, right? But as far as I understand, that doesn't actually work very well. That you need like a portfolio of assets. So I think that it's the edge in a portfolio is really the bigger edge there. Maybe there is some edge in it, you know, but I think that the real magic comes from the mix of assets that you choose and so forth. Like if I go and I do ZN like that, I have a strategy, for instance, that makes money. Oh, excuse me. I should have muted the microphone for that. Anyways, I have a back-tested strategy that's performs over 5 to 10 years. But the Sharpe ratio is like 0.4 or something, like, you know. Like, it's not the best Sharpe ratio. The great Sharpe ratio comes from portfolio. Having mixed assets that kind of balance each other out. So you'll have one asset that does really, really, really well, and then you have another one that it doesn't do very well, and they kind of cancel each other out and reduce the volatility overall. So I think the edge is more in the portfolio construction. That's the magic that makes the thing work. Good uptick, but not getting any volume fall through yet. Spreading on longer time frames helps reduce risk. So then the question is, why aren't we doing this? Well, because in order to size your positions appropriately, because the risk management side is also a significant part of the risk, you need to have a pretty large portfolio to begin with. So we're gonna raise $10 million and then trade the momentum strategy. Now, I think that if I create a fund, that it will be a little bit more complicated than momentum, right? Like, one of the things is, okay, I get a signal and it seems like there's momentum, but then, like, what are the risks involved with that we know based on our informed trading? And we might adjust our signals based on our knowledge of the market. You need about, well, so the examples that I saw were all using $10 million. 10 million. We can raise 10 million, don't you think? Lucas thinks no. I don't know anybody with $10 million right now, but if we work at it and we build up the network and focus on all these things about how to raise money and stuff, I think we can do it. I really do. Like, that's the thing, is I'm telling you, there are people in the market doing this and managing money for people that are less sophisticated than all you watching this stream. That their understanding of the market is less sophisticated than yours. Oh, yeah, I didn't see the picture you sent me. What the heck? There's some politician somewhere has a logo that says FICO, but the way that it was arranged makes it look like a penis. Tried to find a lecture about Jean-Philippe Bouchot's hedge fund strategies, but I think he won't give it that easy. Yeah, well, you know, the thing that I find really interesting about Jean-Philippe now, looking back on it, is that a lot of the more interesting stuff that he's written and published is more about market microstructure, when some of his greatest contributions to the field have been on time series analysis. But that's the stuff that they use for their hedge fund. Maybe we should interview him. It's an interesting thing. Because it seems to me that we've got a really talented group of guys here that work really hard and know a lot about futures, and there's a lot of money in futures, but you know, none of us are turning it into a professional thing, and I think that probably we could. And so I want to figure that out. I want to sort that out. I don't know if going full time would necessarily be appropriate for me. I mean, if I could get $10 million, $20 million to manage, then I could do that, right? But I would have to get to that level before I'd be able to quit my day job, right? But for a lot of other people, especially you younger kids, you probably could go into that and get yourself up to six figures doing that, you know? So I want to do it. I want to do it to see how it's done and show you guys how to do it, you know? Oh, you live near where he teaches? Yeah. Well, they are all French. There are some interviews out there with him from various podcasts and stuff. And they're really good. They just might not necessarily teach you about the strategy that Discus uses. Right? Okay, this makes me a little nervous, but I'll try another contract again if it'll let me. I'm going to bring this one down because they didn't fill me that last time, too. Spread betting is tax-free? Really? Oh, is that why that's such a big deal down there? Okay, well, I'm not liking that. I think it's time for me to shave because I'm getting to the point where I want to play with my beard too much again. I'm still reading this thread on Reddit to see what they think about the whole Iran thing. And they all seem to be focused on is it a good thing for Biden to make a strike, or what are the consequences of that politically, right? And my take here is that I can pretty much guarantee you that the United States will do something. You're not going to let another country kill your soldiers and not have some sort of a response. It's just that you can have a response that doesn't really do anything, right? Go and strike some facility somewhere that nobody cares about. Had a couple of responses that didn't trigger war just last year. We have struck Iran before. Didn't Trump do that at one point? So yeah. He's definitely going to do something. But you know what? Something else though. I think this kind of says something about where the Democrat Party is at right now. It's like everything is about, will this hurt Biden's re-election chances? Like everything is just hyper focused on trying to make it through the next election. It's kind of funny. Okay, so I was able to scratch that. That wasn't bad. Too bad. You went more against me than for me, but because I was able to take small profit there and everything, I was able to scratch it. Watch it flip around now and move back up. I'm reading Twitter and I'm like, okay, this one guy is saying it's crazy that it's still January. What's that? You getting bored? All right. We did have the S&P 500 open up here. I don't know why my sound didn't play, but hey, we are really tight over there too. So it's only the first minute, but all of the trade basically in that 1 tick range. Market on open imbalance 60 million sell side. Wall Street Bet says, remember, stock market didn't care about Bear Stearns feeling until it did. Probably we're talking about Evergrande here. So now that Evergrande is being shuttered, do we see spill off effects from that? Maybe. Yeah, they just kind of ignored it. The amount of people who wake up every morning and yearn for the glory days of 2008 is stunning. Your puts are worthless. There are so many people that I think on Wall Street Bets that just buy, that are just long because they're always long. Did it play and I just didn't hear it? Jeez. I think you could have something where like the sound does play, but then it immediately gets canceled out by a click. That happens sometimes. Because it can't play two sounds at the same time with that particular interface that I'm using. Maybe your Squawk Guild? Nah, I don't think so. If it was a Squawk, I would hear both of them. But I'm also very ADHD, so it might have played and I just didn't notice it. I forgot about it. You're talking about somebody that will like give himself serious cuts and scars and so forth and can't remember how they happened. So I went to so I started having trouble with my elbow. So I went to the doctor and had it x-rayed and everything. And when they looked at it, they were like, what the heck happened? And I'm like, I can't remember. It was a long time ago. It's been like this for years, and I don't remember when it started. I think I just like smashed it against something and whatnot. I don't think they believed me. I think they're all like, oh, you're lying to protect somebody. You've been abused, something like that. No, I don't really remember what it was. I think it might have been breaking a board with my elbow, but I don't really remember what it was. So now I have this giant bone spur. Correlation between NQ and ES is quite interesting. You know, I haven't really been paying attention to it lately. I have a chart over here with it on there, but you can see it's been pretty flat. Always correlation between these because they're all equity indexes. Highly correlated, yes. You'd probably be making money lately if you were buying NQ and selling the others, though, because it's been the techs that have outperformed, right? Oh, forgot to switch back over to here. Oh, it looks like they're buying an ES. And the treasuries did come back up to where they were, so if I had held on to that trade, maybe it would have made the profits that I wanted. But I think, you know, scratching it wasn't a terrible outcome either, so. Did you say that technical analysis is like poker? No. So, like, I think one of the things is, so people will say, oh, when you see this price action pattern, that means that it's more likely to go up than to go down. Okay, so that doesn't mean that it will go up every time. That means that if you get 100 samples, that X number of them will go up, right? Well, what they're not telling you is that if you go and you back test it, and you do find that there is a small aberration, it's like 2%, okay? Which is frankly within the margin of error for most of these things. So like, I think that a lot of technical analysis came about from people that were not thorough enough in their backtesting. They didn't understand the statistics and the number of samples that they needed to be able to show a statistically significant result. And, you know, factoring in, because it's not just about, okay, is it more likely to go up or down from here? It's also, if you are correct, how far does it actually go? Right? There are some things about the market that are like poker, though, because it's competitive and the outcomes depend upon your decisions in relation to other people's decisions. And the way that poker works is like the smart way to play is to just kind of sit back and not do anything unless you get like a really good play, right? Something where in poker, the odds are really, truly in your favor. Right? 2% is not enough. Here's on Reddit, are trading groups a scam? Yes. Thank you for asking. Now my nose is starting to itch like crazy. Yeah, patience plays in both trading and poker, yeah. Yeah, don't worry. There's going to be opportunities this week. Whether you'll be able to catch them is a different issue, but don't you know, take an unnecessary trade in the chop. Yeah, that trade that I tried taking wasn't a bad trade. If I had just given it more room, it would have worked. Wait for good setups the same as waiting for premium hand. Oh, okay. Is that what they call them in poker? Premium hands? I'm sure that poker would be something that I would really enjoy, but I don't think I have room for it. I want to make more room for snowboarding, and I just don't see the, you know? Even us ADHD people have a limit on the number of hobbies they can be involved in at once. Yeah, I'm reading this thread about what are some things that pro traders say that are wrong, and this guy is like, one of the things that he says pro traders claim that are wrong is indicators are useless. This is the most ridiculous one. I trade naked price action, but I never doubt that someone can be successful using indicators. And I'm like, okay, well, who do you actually think are pro traders? Because I'm thinking that the people you think are pro traders aren't actually pro traders. Nowhere to play in Utah? Well, Wendover is not that far away, though. Las Vegas is not that far away. Anyways, I was going to say, it super bothers me that all of these retail traders in the day trading subreddit believe in price action, and there's not a single shred of empirical evidence backing them up. With it being as popular as it is, you would think that the empirical evidence would exist. Oh no, there's somebody else in this thread says something triggering. One of the most insane things I've ever heard, technical analysis doesn't work. When you bring up Jim Simmons, they'll say something along the lines of, well, Jim Simmons is a genius with a PhD and you aren't. Well, no. What if I told you that Jim Simmons isn't necessarily using technical analysis, at least not as you understand it, right? Sure, the most surprising thing to learn is that many successfully proven investors publicly say that TA is a scam. There you go. Hey. What makes you think that Jim Simmons was using technical analysis? Have you been to Burning Man? No. You know, that was okay. So there's this, you know, I have this tractor on my desk because I did the rave stuff, okay? And I've got a tractor S4 MK3. And if I'm honest with myself, purchasing the S3 MK3 was basically giving up. was basically like, because I used to have just a regular mixer and turntables, and you know, we did events with them and stuff like that. You don't really do events with the Tractor because they're not like standalone. You need a computer and people have to plug in, you know, it's just doesn't work. But as a home setup, it's freaking great. It does everything that I ever want to do, and it's so flexible, and the controls are just so nice. But basically, I had to make the acknowledgement that I wasn't gonna be playing out very much, you know, because basically whenever I would play out, it was like they're having a new club night. You go to the club night, they know who you are, they ask you to play, you know. So it basically involves like a considerable amount of networking and going out to clubs and stuff every weekend, and you know, that's just not me anyways. So and started doing this, so I don't want to stay up late. So I kind of stopped doing that. The Burning Man thing was always something that was like, well, you know, when I can do it comfortably, maybe we'll go do it, but not right now, sort of a thing. Now I'm kind of to the place where, you know, I could do those sorts of things, and I just don't want to. I tell you what, though, I was certainly into following the story when they got rained on this past year. Oh my gosh, that was just so crazy. That was so crazy to watch. Okay, here's what I'm going to respond with him. What makes you think that Jim Simmons was uses technical analysis? I shouldn't say was using. Uses technical analysis. Even if we give a broad version of technical analysis that allows all quant analysis to be considered technical analysis, Jim Simmons is not using any of the technical analysis that you'll read about on this sub. Didn't Jim Simmons himself say technical analysis was nonsense? I swear that in one of his videos that he kind of talks about it, and he kind of derides technical analysis to some extent, but I do think that at the very beginning that Jim Simmons was doing a momentum strategy. Anyways, what makes you think that Jim Simmons uses technical analysis? Even if we give a broad definition of technical analysis that allows all quant analysis to be considered technical analysis, I doubt Jim Simmons is using any of the technical analysis that you'll read about on this sub. And I can say that pretty confidently because it's r/day trading, so it's like, you know, technical analysis isn't very useful for day trading. We see selling after the open. Well, the SPOOs made an okay kind of jump, but it is pretty tight for sure. This thread is terrible. Let's read this comment here. People are always researching stock returns, but that doesn't mean their research is good or useful. I am not aware of current useful research in this specific area, so I can't answer your question, but I can give ideas of why your inquiry might be fruitless. A few areas plague financial mathematics research. Robustness. You can come up with a nice theory of how a financial instrument ought to be modeled, but how does it hold up when pricing deep out of the money options or 0 day to expiration options? A lot of academic research completely neglects the traceability of their frameworks, which often lead to their research being completely redundant. Story time. I remember reading a paper whilst researching for my master's thesis, and it was about finding nice bounds for the COS expansion method to price options for the Heston model. What makes the COS method great is that it's fast, but can become unstable if you don't have appropriate truncation bounds on the sum of the COS expansion. No clue what he's talking about, but okay. This paper required the 8th moment of the Heston function, which meant differentiating the Heston car function 8 times, which is obviously ridiculous. So they used a Monte Carlo sim to find the 8th moment. The MC sim defeats the Monte Carlo sim, defeats the whole purpose of the COS method, and makes the whole paper redundant. This is very common in financial mathematics research. Testability. Researchers don't have the data nor the infrastructure to appropriately test their hypotheses. Yep. Further, they're not putting money on the line to see if it actually works. Backtests do not equal real trading. No one has been able to predict exactly how a stock will move tomorrow, neither its precise behavior. This will probably stay true till the sun goes supernova. There is too much noise and too many factors. In the words of Matthew McConaughey, nobody, I don't care if you're Warren Buffett or if you're Jimmy Buffett, nobody knows if the stock is going up, down, sideways, or in effing circles. Do you look at the VWAP when looking at the 5 and 10 year? It looks like the 5 year going below the VWAP now. Well, I have it here on the DOM, but I don't really pay too much attention to it. You are right that we did dip below the VWAP on all of the timeframes, actually. But as far as I can tell, the market still appears to be in a range-bound situation. So don't be surprised if they, in 30 minutes, end up above the VWAP. And then 30, and keep going back and forth across them. Most of the setups that people do when talking about VWAP is like, we've been away from the VWAP, and then it starts reversing, and it will come all the way back to the VWAP and bounce. And people will take that bounce trade. But if you really go into the data, you find that there's more money to be made in crossing the VWAP than there is bouncing off of it, even though bouncing off of it is more common. So there's something to it, but it's not really a very effective edge. I'm wondering about the dollar because that rise in the dollar didn't back off. And gold has been selling back down. So like, is that gold giving up its overnight risk premium, but money moving over to the dollar? I think we should still be cautious about geopolitical headlines here. The story here on Zero Hedge, dovish ECB signaling emboldens firmer pricing for April rate cuts. This kind of brings me back into this thing where it's like when the US is outperforming the rest of the world, it kind of makes our trading a little complicated, I think, because the European traders are doing something different from the US traders, and so like it can be like really tight during, you know, most of the stream, and then after we're done and your London closes, then the action is completely different. Excuse me. And get the hiccups there. Want to read this Quant Minds article now? Dun, 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 dun. Financial modeling with large language models. No, that's a video. AI isn't new, but the advent of the ChatGPT tool in November of 2022 from OpenAI with the support of Microsoft has excited technologists and financial service professionals alike about the end uses that it can be put to. Mining the vast data leaks now available from unstructured social media resources, online news outlets, and other data providers covering financial markets to divine investable patterns and trends with an ever greater granularity is one such end use of interest to quants. Part of the LLMs and Advanced ML Summit, presenters offered quants a roadmap to hone sentiment analysis with AI tools in order to identify and target investable trends, better manage risk and opportunity spotting, generate alpha from media analysis, score relevance, construct portfolios. For this experiment, the presenters used Google's Bard tool to compile tradable thematic baskets. Their process uses natural language processing to continually scan for innovative topics and convert them into tradable thematic investment baskets. More generally, AI has numerous applications, such as asset allocation. How do you identify long-term emerging economic trends, such as the rise of ESG metrics that might move markets and business models? AI can be deployed to optimize long-term allocations accordingly and inform quant trading strategies and models. Risk management procedures can protect and optimize portfolios much more easily than in the past thanks to AI, which can now be quickly built into trading models. It is especially useful if the models are tasked with specific granular end goals looking at currency fluctuations, for example, or market volatility, credit defaults, and so on in greater and greater detail. We modeled different scenarios with our AI LLM, the presenter said. Stock picking. This can be aided by AI analyzing financial statements, news, and social media sentiment more efficiently. The aim is to consistently identify companies with strong growth potential early on. Picking an investment theme is important, but once the trend has been identified, specific companies within it will also need identifying to maximize alpha. That's what kind of sounds like one of those things where, like, okay, the AI thinks that when you use this word and this word in your conference call, that makes you more likely to be growing and so on and so forth. And so then all of the CEOs are going to start using those words and phrases more and then make that signal useless, right? What time, day, or week is best to go short or long a particular stock is a common refrain on financial markets. AI could reduce the human bias and maximize effectiveness. AI can have its own biases as well, of course. For instance, it is only designed by rich white academics. Its output will reflect that. AI might be dangerous too if a human isn't kept in the loop as the ultimate arbiter of what can and cannot be done by the machine. But the technology is undeniably powerful and transformative. Harnessing it in a good way is what will give quants a competitive edge in the year ahead. Okay. So that was just like, I think, an introductory one. Oh, and then this one is a video. I can't show you guys that. So I have to look at that later. Can you share us the tool that you use to snap windows? You mean AquaSnap? AquaSnap. Yada, yada, yada. That could become an infomercial for AquaSnap. Where is it? What's the icon for it? I know you're out there. Which one are you? Oh, it's this right here. It's that little circle. AquaSnap Pro. Featuring such features as AquaSnap, AquaStretch, AquaMagnet, AquaGlue, AquaShake, and AquaGlass. Except for don't use AquaShake. That one's the worst one. AquaShake is like if you take a window and go like this, then like all of the other windows will close. And so like you'll have a window and you're like just trying to reposition it and stuff and it thinks that you're shaking it. Oh, I hate that. I hate that. But what it does is it makes it snaps to the windows. So like you see how easy it is for me to make the edge here. Let me minimize that again. See how easy it is to make me for me to get the edges of those to line up perfectly. Unfortunately, it does not work for NinjaTrader windows, because when NinjaTrader is using a different thing to draw the windows, but yeah, it works for the Jigsaw ones. You can rearrange things very quickly. It also makes it, see how the window is kind of transparent when I'm moving it around? That's a part of the feature. It will snap to the corners really well. It will snap when resizing the window. I can't show that because this window's not resizable. It can also do this thing where if you have a bunch of windows already connected together, you can drag and move them around as a group. That's another feature of it. Pretty nifty. I've found it to be very useful. I quite like it. Let's see here. Now I gotta figure out which. There we go. On r/bonds, I don't know poop about poop, but Alex Hormozy said, put my money in bonds, and okay. I need to figure this out. Let me know if any of you fellows could point me in the right of what information you believe would help me, or what you use to invest in bonds, or maybe what bonds. I'm looking not to leave my money so stagnant in my bank account. I'm 18, but okay, dude, you don't need to worry about it. And so the reason Alex Hormozy is talking about that kind of stuff is because he has to be somewhat liquid to do his business ventures, but you don't want it sitting in cash. So you buy it in bonds, and then you can just give them the bonds. That's why he's talking about it. He's basically saying it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to have your cash sitting in a bank account right now, because the interest rate you get on the bank account is terrible. So you have to manage your own bond portfolio. Yeah, because you're 18. I don't think that's a problem for you. I saw Aquaman, horrible. No, the first one was good. The first one was great. In fact, I'd say it's maybe the only Marvel movie that was really good. I liked the first Superman. Have you guys watched on not on Netflix, on Amazon Prime, Jack Reacher series? Oh my gosh, it's so good. And the guy that they have playing Jack Reacher is so effing intimidating. He's just a big, muscular guy. And so now there is a campaign to make him the new Superman. Man, if he was the new Superman, whew. I mean, I think they'd have to dye his hair. But oh my gosh, that guy is so good. He's going places. I guarantee you see him more. Everyone talks about that show. I saw some of the action scenes, but it didn't convince me at all. Well, so I would say that the action scenes are about average for the most part, but it's when you put them in context. When you put it in context, then it's like, holy crap, this guy is crazy. In the most recent season that I watched last night, finished watching last night rather. The finale is basically him defeating a bunch of bad guys with his hand tied behind his back. So and it is pretty brutal, I would say. Yeah, Alan Richardson. He said he naturally gained weight. Wait, how old is he? How old is he? Maybe I'm wrong about, you know, that he would need different hair to be Superman. Maybe they could work it out. I don't know. How old is he? He's 41. Wow. Isn't 41 maybe a little bit too old to play Superman if you really want somebody that's going to last for several decades and stuff? Could be wrong. Big boy, though. Makes a great Jack Reacher. He's on TV, maybe. Probably. I've been some people on TikTok have been talking about stuff like signs of certain plastic surgeries and stuff, and one of the things they were pointing out is that when you're on human growth hormone, that it makes the muscles in your jaw grow bigger, and so it makes their head look huge. And then they were pointing out all of the actors that had that. I was like, whoa, wait a second. That makes so much sense. Because I always wondered why they look so, like, why their head looks so big now. Action scenes feel exactly how you wished you would have handled the situation after they already happened while you're So like the sort of thing that happens in Jack Reacher though is like, oh, I think this car is following us. And so he just walks up to the car and you know, throws his hand through the glass and pulls the person out of the car. Right. Like that's what that's like. That's what the show is like. That's why. Plus they are like mystery movies. They're really good mystery movies, I think. I enjoy it. I don't think that the second season was quite as good as the first season because the first season had a mystery to it, aspect to it that was way better, but there was still good things about the second season. Is human growth hormone? I don't know anything about it, dude. I would guess probably not. I think part of the thing, the point that I think the person on TikTok that I watched was trying to make is that like these things make them look really good when they're young and stuff, but they have negative long-term consequences. And now you can kind of see when they're getting into their 50s, the negatives are coming out and they're like desperately doing everything that they can to stay relevant. Doing all these crazy surgeries and stuff. Just go to the gym and eat normal food. Well, unfortunately, we live in America, so you can't get normal food. I think, well, I'm on some medications, so that kind of hurts, but I also think it's what I eat. I think that I need to have a much better diet for me to, like, bulk up, quote unquote. Nah, I don't do bodybuilding. I do Olympic weightlifting. So Olympic weightlifting is really, it can be interesting in that respect because something that will happen to us, especially if you get young guys in, is that they will bulk up too fast. It basically, because everything that you're doing is raw power, like you can really engage some really crazy hypertrophy at the very beginning off of that. And, you know, if you're trying to keep a certain weight and everything, because the whole thing is you got to have like the force production relative to your weight. So they kind of, yeah. But overall though, you don't really get huge usually. Like all these guys that you see that are Olympic weightlifters that just have like absolutely perfect bodies, they're probably on steroids. All these Chinese and Russian lifters. But then more so, it's especially upper body because Olympic weightlifting is almost all into your legs. So I have pretty cut legs, but I'm not that impressive in my arm, you know. Peptides are the future of strength training, probably. Well, like, dude, this whole thing with these peptides that they're using for weight loss, it's a freaking game changer, dude. Like, have you not seen my gosh? So my wife is taking that right now because after she had a kid and she was doing everything and she wasn't losing weight. It was like, there were many times where I was like, there's no way that you're like eating not even 1,000 calories a day and you're working out and you're not losing weight. There's no way. You've got to be eating something and you're not realizing it or something like that. Now, she just takes the peptide and she consistently loses the amount that she should be. So she probably has had insulin resistance problems. That certain things that she's eating, you know, are completely messing her system up, and then that drug basically reverses that effect. So it's crazy. And when she gets into this sort of thing, she's like me. She will go, but like way more extreme on this sort of thing. She like reads every Facebook group and subreddit there is about that particular subject. So she is following like everything that these women say in these groups for Monjaro and these other drugs, right? And it is insane, man. Like the number of people that are just straight up losing weight off of this thing. So it is a major drastic change in public health in terms of obesity. Huge. And my hope is that it leads us into better research and better standards about the foods that are causing problems so that we don't have as much of an issue with insulin resistance in the United States, right? But it's crazy, right? And there's more peptides out there that could have potential uses. So yeah, It's crazy. My understanding is that it's something that you do like once a week or something like that. But I don't know too much about the dosing and so forth. But the whole point of that was saying that it's like a ton of people getting involved in it. I'm sure that at some point there are side effects and stuff. There are risks associated with it, but so maybe at some point in the future there some people will regret taking those risks. But oh my gosh, it is so much bigger of a, like, you know, we heard about it. The stock market, certain stocks taking off because of it, but I don't think that most people realize the impact this is having on society right now, especially for, you know, 35 to 55-year-old women. Big change for them. All right, we come back down to those lows, and those offers stacked pretty hard on top of it too. Now we're getting back into, this is like normal liquidity for the treasuries now. Normal liquidity. I think if I was to try and invest, take advantage of this, I would be investing in plastic surgery, right? Because there's going to be all these people that have to get plastic surgery after they lose 100 pounds. Retro, when you post links, YouTube takes them out. You have to put, like, remove the periods and the .coms and stuff. I try to set it up so that it doesn't do that, but it still does that. Because you say, check out this link, colon, and I don't see anything. think that they'll keep going? I wonder, where are we relatively today? So if we were gonna really turn into a downturn bender, like they would have to get super, super far down there to like reach the overnight levels. There's a huge, huge order there at 02. 11K, wow. That might be worth noting. Although that's kind of like close to last Friday's lows, so. I don't know if it actually means anything. $8K, that is an MBL. Oh boy. I didn't see that Trump commented on the attack in Jordan. The drone attack on U.S. military installation in Jordan, killing 3 American servicemen and wounding many more, marks a horrible day for America. My most profound sympathies go to the families of the brave service members. I ask all Americans to join me in praying for those who have been wounded. This brazen attack on the United States is yet another horrific and tragic consequence of Joe Biden's weakness and surrender. Not as strong of a statement as I thought I was about to read. Oops, what was that? Okay, no, we're fine. It was an uptick off of 4K iceberg. Or rather, let's say an uptick against a 4K iceberg. Oh, actually, it was significant. It was 3 ticks. Oh, no, yeah, it just went another tick. That's why. Man, the iRobot thing is like, sounds like it's super brutal. I'm seeing a lot of stories about that today. Maybe in a couple of months that might be one worth turning on, because I like them. But losing that deal is a pretty big issue for them. Oh, I forgot the Tekken 8 released over the weekend. It's another one where I'm like, hey, let's get back into Tekken again. But then I'm like, I don't know if I've got the time. I tried putting it on for the kids on Friday. We watched somebody play through like the end of the campaign or whatever. They weren't into it. So I don't, if they don't like it, I don't think that that one's going to work. Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, has said that the real estate market crash is coming and it is the best time to get rich per Yahoo Finance. Okay. I won't trust anything that guy says, but ooh, Ghostbuster trailer out. Some wild sweeps coming through. Well, there was some real volume came through in the treasury. I wouldn't call them sweeps, but we definitely got pulled up like 3 or 4 ticks there. Something's coming in the E-mini here. There could be headline coming. You must be talking about ES then, huh? Forbes magazine, 22 seconds ago, Iranian authorities on Monday denied being involved in a drone strike on a U.S. military base in Jordan that killed 3 American soldiers and injured 25 after Joe Biden blamed radical Iran-backed militants for carrying out the attacks and promised a response. It wasn't us, it was the terrorists that we gave tons of military hardware and training to and told to go do it. But it wasn't us. Dude, oh my gosh. This is like way super too political for us, so I'm just gonna tell you to like go and look it up. Okay, but Ilhan Omar or whatever her name is, Ilhan Omar rather, had a speech where she was basically pledging allegiance to Somalia first, and like the whole thing is just like super crazy. Go and watch about it. It's wild stuff. I'm like, how can she still be a United States representative? This is so crazy. The U.S. is edging closer to a constitutional crisis on the border thanks to red state governors determined to follow Trump's demands and help his presidential bid, says Patricia Lopez via Bloomberg. You know what? This was another one I was looking at over the weekend. So I saw this thread. It was like a series of tweets posted in a TikTok or something. And somebody was like, why, if there's a civil war, why should I care? Like, I don't care if a bunch of Republicans are getting killed by predator drones or something like that. And I'm like, whoa. Like, you seriously think that Joe Biden would go and use predator drones to prevent Republicans from securing the border? Not even Joe is that dumb. Okay, all of this, there's going to be a civil war over the border. It's nonsense. It's not going to happen. Right? The whole reason the Republicans are pushing it is because they know that there's not really anything Joe Biden can do in response that would be positive for him. There's not going to be a civil war. It's just histrionics. It's just people trying to get clicks and get clicks out of you. Do we still think Joe is in charge? Yes and no. He's probably not the brains behind the outfit, but I think that if he wanted to do something like send a predator drone, he probably still could. Which is to say, like, Joe Biden is in charge, but he's mostly just doing what other people tell him to do. But he still has the ability to come in and say, like, no, I'm going to do this, right? And I think part of the thing that you're seeing with Joe Biden is his handlers are keeping a really, really close lid on him, and he hates it. He hates it. And you've seen that come out in some of his speeches and stuff. Like, he had a speech this weekend where he just started ranting about Donald Trump. The like Joe Biden just being so obsessed and triggered by Donald Trump. That's not a political act. That's like he genuinely just can't handle it. But I'm seeing here Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index down 27.4 in January versus 10.4% in January. And the estimate was negative 11.8. So, wait, did those moves that we get, those weren't exactly at 8:30, were they? Oh, they were. You know what? And I didn't even hear that on my news squawk, did I? Or maybe I didn't have it on at that moment. I refreshed up it. And then I forgot to turn it back on, and I changed that. It's on right now, but I did that like 5 minutes ago. So maybe that was that. Maybe that jump in the treasuries was because of the Dallas Fed manufacturing number, because it does time with it. Is he the best the Democrats have to offer up? Still not to date with politics there. Well, you know, how did he become president in the first place? You know, is it an interesting question. Here's the thing. When the 2020 election happened, or rather, when the 2020 primaries were happening, nobody expected Donald Trump to lose, right? It was an almost guarantee that Donald Trump was going to win a second term. He was still very popular among his base. He was polling really well, right? And like, frankly, even with COVID and everything, I think he could have won if he had changed his approach, because he basically went from, okay, we need to slow the curve, to we need to get the economy up and going as quickly as possible so that I can still win re-election. And he was so narrowly focused on that he presented a narrative, like kind of like all of the PR related to the pandemic kind of was like he didn't take it seriously enough, because most people were at that time concerned about the pandemic. That's why he lost. So, but before that, the point was he was almost guaranteed to win. And so there was a lot of Democrats that were kind of vying to be, the nominee and everything. But the truth is that a lot of them held back because they didn't think that was the best election. I think that some of them were like, 2028 will be better. Or 2024 will be better. Can you imagine? Like, that's the thing that's so funny, is that if Donald Trump had won last time, he'd be getting out of office right now, and that'd just be the end of it, right? And then they would be running this time around. And then this time around, it would be more competitive, and the Democrats would be more competitive. But what happened was they were just throwing lambs to the slaughter, and then Joe Biden ended up winning the nomination because of the pandemic, right? And so you end up with Joe. Are there better candidates for the Democrats? I don't know. I mean, I think Newsom would be one of the people that would run, but I don't think that he'd be a very good candidate. So now, there has been some stories recently. So one in particular was people familiar with the matter claim that Joe Biden that Barack Obama gave Joe Biden a sit down. He said he read him the Riot Act. Reading the Riot Act, it was like, back in Middle Ages times, when the peasants were uprising, the police would read the Riot Act and tell people to disperse, right? So it's basically like Barack Obama talking down to Joe Biden and like, you need to fix this now, or we might need to just replace you or something like that. So who knows how much truth there is to it, because it's like a completely anonymously sourced story, and I don't know how real. I bet you that a meeting did happen, although maybe it's not being presented as accurately as it actually happened. Okay, but so this is fueling speculation that Joe Biden will eventually drop out of the race and get replaced by somebody like Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama or Oprah. Oprah could be the left's Trump. I saw this thing that I hopefully I'll be able to look into it more later, as it was a TikTok, but it was some statistics. One of the things that's been a big deal, because people have already been picking up on that there's been a political schism between men and women, and that younger women are leaning more and more heavily Democrat, and that the men are starting to lean Republican. Not as heavily as the women are leaning Democrat, but they are leaning that way. And so this guy had that statistic on there, but then he also had these statistics about like political polarization and so forth. And they had a list of brands, basically, like interests that would include bands, TV shows, that sort of a thing, right? And there's like this huge long list for things that are like democratically polarized, but not Republican. So like the thing that's most Republican is Kid Rock, apparently. If you love Kid Rock, you're probably a Republican. The most Democrat thing, though, was Oprah. Oprah, followed by The View, followed by Ellen DeGeneres. Isn't it odd that the top three things that were democratically are all talk shows? But I digress. Maybe Oprah could win, and I think that if the whole Maui fire thing hadn't have happened, because a lot of people were pissed about the Maui thing, right? If it hadn't been for her reputation taking a hit during the Maui fires, I think that Oprah would stand a pretty good chance at becoming president, actually. Yes. Could totally happen. But I continue to see a larger problem within our society, which is that what kind of sane person wants to run for office? The whole thing is just a big, gigantic mess, and the only people that are really running are crazy people with big power ambitions. And the kind of person that would actually be effective at it doesn't want to do it because it just ruins their life. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse. Right? And so now you're kind of to a point where it doesn't feel like either part. Like if Donald Trump wasn't running right now, who would they run? Nikki Haley? Come on. Maybe Ted Cruz would come out of retirement, yeah. He's not retired, but, he didn't run for president this time around. Probably because he didn't want to run against Trump, though. Maybe he'll run next time. Senators don't always make the best presidents, though. Governors and military generals tend to be better than senators. Oh no, the Linus Tech Tips screwdriver bit prices will go up soon? New CEO deemed the current prices unprofitable. When you watch both ads through and through, so stuff makes thanks. I don't know if like you speeding through it makes a difference or not. If you click, okay, this is the thing. Okay, if it shows you an ad, okay, cool. But if it shows you an ad and you click on the ad, That brings the channel revenue. Overall, though, it's kind of, you know, I think that my channel is getting a lot more views than it used to, because the CPM is down big time, but the revenue is not. Isn't that weird? Not that it's a ton of revenue, but it's enough to get statistics off of it and stuff. CPM is down, but my views are up. Up relative to like 2 years ago, at least. I need to make more videos. I got this test on Wednesday. Hopefully I pass that. I mean, everything suggests that I'm ready for it, but you know, I still do the practice tests. I don't get 100%, so you know, I get like 84%, and you need 70 to pass. Then after that, we can make more videos. I think we need to make a video about momentum, because I tell you what, there's been a lot of great discussion about the momentum thing, right? Because it is kind of like shifting our understanding a little bit. Kind of, I think it's more shifting our understanding in terms of the zeitgeist, like why do retail traders believe certain things? I think it's because of their misunderstandings about what momentum trading is, but why is there only one idiot besides me liking this? I don't know. Yeah, we used to always get to 16 likes, huh? What's with that? Is that why YouTube doesn't like us as much anymore? Is because you guys don't like this? Oh, somebody just took their like back. Okay, fair play, sir. Fair play. I don't know how much that matters. If every person that's watching the stream gives it a like, does that significantly change how many people the stream gets pushed out to? Don't know. Liking the stream does actually boost the stream to the algo. Well, supposedly, but I think the issue is that it's like it has something to do with like terms and stuff like that. So like I think that YouTube says, okay, this person likes trading videos. So what kind of trading videos do people are most liked and have the best engagement and so forth? And then they go and they see, oh, here's this video that promises you're going to make $10,000 a day. And that one gets tons and tons of clicks. So then, you know, that's the one that it shows to people and not our video. And I think it does the same thing with the streams, because I tell you what, man, there are some live streams out there that are more popular than me on YouTube. And I'm like, why? Like there are streams that are more popular than us and the person just doesn't even say anything. And I'm like, how is this happening? I liked it as soon as I opened the stream. Yeah, I can only see my like. Oh yeah, you know, there's 13 likes right now. Trades by Matt. You also gain a knowledge from you. Well, I appreciate it. I do my darndest. Oh, I forgot. There's trades by Matt, but then there's also I don't remember what they call them. Rocket Scooter or something like that. You know who I'm talking about? He used to be Day Trader Paradise. Somebody was telling me that he was doing the World Championship Cup of futures trading and was like on top of that at the moment. But, you know, it's only 1 month in, so I don't really put much stock into those sorts of things, but still good for him. That's the other Matt. There's two Matts. That's what I'm saying. Trades by Matt is lame. It seems to me like his popularity has waned, which is okay. He's probably doing fine. I'm sure he's probably doing fine. I don't like the way that he trades, or and I feel like he's teaching nonsense over there, but seems like a nice guy. I'm sure that if he was here that we'd get along and we could have a fun conversation. I should probably work harder to work with other traders, but yeah. I'm too much of a loner. Working with other people makes me nervous. Reaching out to other people makes me nervous. Let's see here. How is he doing? Oh, I don't know. On Social Blade, it says that he's gained 3,000 subscribers in this past month. He must be doing something. Must be doing something right. Yeah. See, he had that initial like boost in 2022. So like 2 years ago, right? And then he did die down. And I hear a lot of negative comments about him whenever he gets brought up on Reddit. But now it's like it's turning back up again. Let's go see. Did he have a good video? Did he have a good video? I have to be careful because when I look for this, now it'll start showing him it will start showing me his stuff again, and I hate that. No offense, but I don't like getting other trading videos on my YouTube feed because they're usually nonsense. Can you day trade while working full time? Don't quit your day job. Hey, that's like a good title. I like the idea. It's probably should just teach it as a hobby. Yeah. I let strangers day trade $150 for me. Well, he's only made one real video in the past month, though, so that's interesting. Oh, and then he made a video about Apex Trader. Well, yeah, Matt did the contest. Yeah, no, that was the bell to say, Seth, you need to start shutting it down now because you got 5 minutes left. Is what that bell is. But yeah. Well, I mean, the trading contesting is interesting because of the ICT angle, but I still say that I would not put much stock in those contests because it's basically turns into take a ton of risk and see who is lucky enough to avoid the downturn from it, right? Because he's up. The winner right now, I forget what Matt's last name is. Is it Matthew Miller? Because Matthew Miller was in the screenshot somebody sent me as winning, and he's up 128% this year. Okay, so in 1 month, you're up 128%. Like, you're doing risky stuff, right? You're doing risky stuff. USS Lewis B. Puller was hit by a Houthi. Be careful about the geopolitical risks this week, guys. That Iran thing going on, there's probably going to be something, and wouldn't surprise me to see like an instantaneous market reaction off of it that is then like retraced and walked back rather. So I'll be like, oh, here's World War III. Oh wait, it's not World War III. It was just, they attacked something that doesn't really matter, and then it goes back to where it was. Oh yeah, they trade off of the assumption of volume trading at certain places when they could trade order. Yeah, it is kind of interesting, isn't it? It's like, couldn't you just wait to see if the orders are actually there, and like, just trade the places where the orders are there and completely ignore the price action and all of those other things, Shows he wasn't. I really don't think that you can take 1 year's worth of returns and say like this is proof of anything. If there was a contest that was like best 5-year returns, I'd be like way more interested in it, right? It'll be like a yearly contest, but then, you know, it carries over year over year, and then at the end of every year, there's a 5-year performance award or something. Yeah. Uh-oh, here's another person on r/day trading. I've destroyed my life. I hate to hear things like that. I have dug such a deep hole learning how to trade that now I can't grow my account because I need the money, so I keep oversizing and making my situation worse, leading to more oversizing, worst cycle, and now I'm heading into straight up brokenness with no resources. I was extremely close to changing my life for good, but because I couldn't/can't control myself /wait, I instead ruined it. Most average day trader. Dude, you really want it to start as a hobby. If you start out like this, you're gonna make this your living or something, you're gonna have a hard time, okay? Like, especially day trading, okay? Because you gotta be skeptical about the long-term efficacy of day trading. I've never seen somebody show me 5 years of returns from day trading. Sounds like it wasn't trading who ruined it. You know what's something that bothers me in my age group is that when I was a kid, I was always about, I got to do my best on everything. I've got to ensure that I do my best on the tests, and I always practiced excellence. And there was so many people that were like, why? It doesn't matter. School doesn't matter. It's all a game, yada, 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 right? Because they only saw the short-term consequences. And then when it was like you're going to school, they're like, oh, they don't want to do that anyways. They don't want to have that kind of a job anyways, yada, 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 yada. And now, it's only now, once we're getting close to our 40s, that now a bunch of these people are going like, oh, wait. My life sucks. And life for these other people doesn't suck. And so then it's like we blame it on income inequality. And listen, there is like income inequality and stuff like that. And there is like problems in our economy. But if you yourself are doing poorly, there are plenty of things that you could have gone back and done differently that probably would have changed things for you. Like, you always have to take responsibility for your own decisions, right? You're separate things. Yes, we should work to make the system better, but you still need to take responsibility for your own decisions. I lost, like, what, $400? Lost $400 the last 3 months? That was all me. Yeah, the market's been difficult, but I still chose to trade it, right? So I can't escape from taking the responsibility for those trades. Now, maybe it's part of the strategy and you expect to lose and eventually you'll make more or whatever, but yeah, I have a job outside of this. Of course I do. Sorry, do you think that I live on $10 a day in micro treasury yield futures and like the YouTube? The YouTube channel does make income, but it's like a few $100s. Okay, it's not enough to live on, right? Yes, I am still an SRE, and SREs make very good money. Technology people make good money. SREs are like one of the best paid positions within technology. And that's not to toot my own horn, because I kind of feel like I stumbled into it. Like, it was one of my older bosses who I think he was a good guy, but wasn't the best boss. But the only reason that I'm an SRE is because of him. Because he was like, this is the place to go, so that's what we're going to do. And so we went there, and now I'm an SRE. Site reliability engineer. So I think part of why it gets paid so much is because when shit hits the fan, right, you're on the front lines. And then I work from home. So I don't have to travel in much anymore. That's why, like, whenever we talk about cars, is like, I would like to get a new car, and soon, in a few years, I will have to get a new car. So now is a good time to start thinking about what kind of car you can get. But I have a hard time really justifying spending a whole lot on a car because I don't drive that much because I don't have to commute anymore. Now, maybe that's the thing. That's the scary thing in this economy. Things can shift very quickly. I could, tomorrow something could happen and I could find myself having to find a new one. I'd feel pretty confident about my ability to find a new one, but sometimes markets are hard, right? Sometimes the job market sucks. Is SEO work a dead job and side of the industry? I wouldn't call it dead, but it's certainly not the thing that it was once. Because the nature of it has definitely changed. I think that if you were somebody that freelanced SEO work, that you're probably not getting as much work as you used to, but probably still making it. Would you say SRE is now better than data science engineer or scientist? The data that I've looked at, yes, but they're close. Go back to school and get a certification in plumbing. There you go. Well, I think especially if you want to run your own business and work hard, that you should go into the trades, right? You don't make a ton in the trades unless you own a business. But then if you own a business, so you can be a millionaire. There's not enough plumbers out there. Like in some parts of the country, it's like a huge problem. But anyways, yeah. Do trading as a hobby. Yeah, I will replace the floors. Okay. Yeah, start out as a hobby, and then you learn a lot from it, and then you can potentially, if you really want to, you can potentially shift over into doing professional trading. Just understand that professional trading is a different game, right? Like if we're running a momentum strategy, then the game is executing on that strategy well, which is a completely different thing. It's like, well, we need to buy a certain number of contracts a day. So how do we do that? Right? How do we get the best price for that purchase that we need to buy today? How do we really, what do we think about this signal? Like, what do we know in this situation? Is this really a good signal? And right? But completely different game. And a lot of your job is like doing all of the clerical work for new money coming in and people taking money out and all those sorts of things. But is a possible path that you can go if you're in the future space. Or you could be working for a company that hedges, right? You could work for the oil companies or wherever. I think those places probably take kids out of school, but we can try. We can try. But yeah, you come into trading with no real source of income, you're going to have a bad time. You're a data engineer starting to feel the heat of the layoffs. Many of my freelance coworkers can't find a mission. Really? Well, so I do need to get going, but I will say one thing about this. So the first thing is that experience is a significant factor. So I am hearing that a lot of the kids that graduated just this last year are having a very difficult time finding work, right? So if you don't have the resume built up, it may be difficult to get work, right? Data engineering is still a growing field, because basically what happens is companies go in and they say, hey, let's do all of the AI stuff. And then they find out that their data is not good enough to do AI stuff and they need data engineers. So I think that data engineering is a good path to go. The reason SRE is such a good, well-paid one is you want experienced people and stuff like that, right? And I've been doing this since 2010, essentially, right? So I've been doing this 14 years. So my situation is not going to be the same as everybody else's. And then the other thing I was going to say is that, like, if you live in California, then it's really a problem, right? Because all of those California companies are trimming down. It's like the people that were in the really big tech companies are the ones that are going to have the most problems. And probably they're going to filter down to the lower level companies. So we'll see how that goes. But I do not find AI replacing developers and stuff, really. So seniority is something to look for. See, it's a difficult subject to talk about just because there's all of these other discussions going on in society about society and income inequality overall, and I do pretty well, right? And so there's one of the things that is kind of triggering to people is like, how much of your success is due to you, right? Well, I think that almost everything comes down to both. Like, you have to do your part, but then you also have to have some luck, right? And so that's kind of what happened to me, was that at some key points, you know, I was able to make the correct choice or I got lucky, right? Like, at a key point, right, as I was graduating, I was like, hey, let's go and try and work for Goldman Sachs. And I got in. And maybe if I had tried going to work at Google, my life would be completely different, right? Because maybe I wouldn't have gotten into Google, and then it would have been a completely different set of jobs, and I wouldn't have had as strong of a resume. That's kind of how that goes. So, yep. The seniority kind of matters. That's kind of, I think, what killed Twitter. It wasn't that they laid off too many people, but that the right people didn't stay. The people that they really needed to keep things going didn't want to stick around. So now they're going through the pains of like retraining the people and, you know, getting new key people for that sort of stuff. Because it can take kind of years to get that person trained up for that. Okay. I've gone on too long. I will see you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, stay excellent.